Fever's not wasting any time to secure the future of Caitlin Clark. Yes, they made a big-time announcement on social media today about their new practice facility, gave us a little video, a little caption. Everybody's talking about this, but no one's paying attention to the message of the post. The message of the post is that I believe they're catering this whole practice facility around Caitlin Clark, making sure Caitlin Clark stay in the beautiful city of Indianapolis. Hell, they even got a golf simulator room for her, bro. Let's dive into this. Let's head on over to the Indiana Fever X account, guys.
The ultimatum was delivered behind closed doors, and the message could not have been clearer. Stephanie White did not come back to Indiana to watch the greatest prospect in basketball history walk out the door because of a lack of resources or a subpar environment. She is reportedly beyond furious at the thought of other teams circling Caitlin Clark like vultures, whispering about better facilities and bigger markets. The Fever front office had to move, and they had to move fast. They did not just announce a renovation, they dropped a $78 million nuclear bomb on the rest of the league to ensure their superstar stays exactly where she is. The stakes have never been higher for a franchise that finally has the eyes of the world on them.
For women's sports. So every element of this facility has been intentionally designed around our players. You see that? Intentionally designed around our players, around Caitlin, bro, including how they train, recovery, connect, and live day to day. This will set a new standard for women's sports and continue to position Indianapolis as the center of that momentum. Kelly Christoph, team president. So this is the message Kelly put out this morning. Now, I just want you guys to listen to some of this.
Kelly Krauskopf is not playing games anymore, and this latest social media drop proves the Fever are in full-blown defensive mode. They just pulled back the curtain on a massive 108,000 square foot sports complex that is quite literally being built around the needs of one person. Every single inch of this facility has been intentionally designed to cater to the players, but let us be real here. When you see things like a custom golf simulator room, you know exactly whose heart they are trying to win. This is not just a practice court, it is a golden cage designed to make sure Caitlin Clark never feels the need to look at free agency ever again. They are building a palace to keep their queen in Indianapolis.
This is the message Kelly put out this morning. Now, I just want you guys to listen to some of this before we go through some of these photos and read some of this article. It says, a first glimpse into a $78 million, 108 square foot sports facility center. Now, light field dual practice courts, recovery suites, hydrotherapy pools, sauna, and more. Chef-driven nutrition program, content production studio. Who do content? Who got a podcast? Aliyah Boston and Sophie Cunningham. Nail, hair, and makeup.
The details coming out of this facility are mind-blowing, and honestly a bit intimidating for the rest of the WNBA. We are talking about light field dual practice courts, recovery suites, hydrotherapy, and even a sauna. They are setting a brand new standard for women's sports that puts Indianapolis right at the center of the momentum. But do not let the shiny new renderings fool you into thinking everything is peaceful in the front office. Behind the scenes, the pressure is mounting to surround Caitlin with the right pieces before the window of opportunity slams shut. Stephanie White knows that a fancy building does not win championships, and she is demanding roster moves that match the ambition of this $78 million investment.
Chef-driven nutrition program, content production studio. Who do content? Who got a podcast? Aliyah Boston and Sophie Cunningham. Nail, hair, and makeup salon, golf simulator, child care spaces. Now, these are some of the photos of how it's going to look. Now, I don't know if any of this is going to be open to the general public in Indiana. I doubt that it will be. They might have it to where you could take tours, I would think, of this practice facility, but
the facility includes a full-blown content production studio, which is a direct nod to the massive media presence of players like Lexie Hull and Aliyah Boston. They are building a world where the players do not just train, they build their brands right there in the building. It is a genius move to keep the stars engaged, but it also highlights the desperate need to keep this core group together. If free agency hits and these players start entertaining offers from teams in New York or Vegas, all these shiny studios will be empty. That is the nightmare scenario that keeps Stephanie White up at night, and it is why the front office is working overtime to lock down every loose end before the market officially opens up for business.
Hey, I don't know how other teams' practice facilities look, but this alone make me want to stay in Indy if I'm Caitlin. Just this building alone. Think about the resources you have there right in the city that you're playing in. And it ain't like Indianapolis is a bad city, you know. I was finna move there at one point. I was finna open up a company there. Indiana probably like a third home for me, bro, because I do go there a lot. I was just in Indy like last month. But I feel like this is an awesome move for them in the direction of keeping Caitlin Clark.
The inclusion of a golf simulator might seem like a luxury, but it is actually a strategic strike against the lure of other cities. Everyone knows Caitlin Clark loves to hit the links to decompress, and by bringing that hobby inside the facility, the Fever are making it so she never has to leave their ecosystem. It is a level of pampering that we have not seen in this league, and it signals that the Fever are willing to do whatever it takes to satisfy their franchise player. However, the rumors of coaching shifts and roster instability are still swirling. Stephanie White is reportedly pushing for more than just amenities. She wants a roster that can actually compete for a title next year, and she is not hiding her frustration.
He's like an X's and O's type of guy. I like him. Now, this is what CC Report wrote today. Well, yeah, it was today. So, he stated, if for some reason the Fever miss out on Elena Smith, which we really shouldn't, but maybe, may I present to you former Lynx teammate Jessica Shepard. So this is a good proposition here. So we know that players like to pretty much, I call it, send smoke signals to the Fever because they want everybody to make videos.
Free agency is the looming cloud over this entire project, and the Alana Smith situation is the first major test for this new era. There has been a lot of chatter about Smith potentially joining the Fever, but the signals are getting mixed, and the tension is rising. Some people believe players are just using the Fever's name to drive up their own value, sending out smoke signals to get everyone talking. Stephanie White is reportedly tired of the games and wants aggressive, decisive action to secure talent. If they miss out on a player like Smith, it will be a massive blow to the momentum they have built, and it might just prove that fancy buildings are not enough to attract the league's top-tier veterans.
Players like to pretty much, I call it, send smoke signals to the Fever because they want everybody to make videos about them. They want everybody to talk about them, blah, 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 blah. So I think we need to take the Elena Smith thing with a grain of salt. But that's neither here nor there. He said Jessica Shepard. Now, Jessica Shepard averaged 8 points per game. She had 7 points, 7.3 PRG, 2.6 APG, and 20 points per game. Now, at 29 years old, she is right at the peak of her powers. She would be extremely...
The fear of being burned in free agency is real, especially after what happened with certain targets last year. The Fever fans are on edge, and the coaching staff is even more anxious. They cannot afford to chase ghosts while other teams are actually signing impact players. This is why the conversation has shifted toward a potential plan B that might actually be more realistic and more effective in the long run. If the Alana Smith deal falls through, the front office has to have a secondary target ready to go immediately. Stephanie White is not the type of coach who accepts excuses, and she certainly does not want to go into the next season with a roster that has more holes than a piece of Swiss cheese.
But her real strength is her rebounding. That's what I'm saying. Somebody that could go in, rim run, get some boards, give Aliyah Boston a break. What happened during those semifinals when Aliyah Boston fouled out. The whole rebound structure was gone. Everything was gone. Now, I'm not saying KK can't become that, what we need her to be, but as of right now, we need somebody that can go up there, get them boards, shoot the ball back out, and keep plays alive and keep us in possession of the ball. Now, with that being said, overall, it would be a different look from the front court than Elena Smith would bring. More.
Enter Jessica Shepard, the former Lynx standout who is currently at the peak of her powers. At 29 years old, she represents exactly the kind of veteran presence that could stabilize the Fever's front court. Shepard averaged 8 points and over 7 rebounds per game, showing a level of physicality that the Fever desperately lacked during their playoff run. The idea of snatching her away from Minnesota is gaining a lot of traction, especially since the Lynx might be crowded if they bring in other big names. Promising her a starting role in Indy could be the leverage they need. It is a move that makes sense on paper, but it requires the Fever to be much more aggressive than they have been in the past. Stephanie White is reportedly looking for players who can take the physical burden off Aliyah Boston. We all saw what happened during the semifinals when Aliyah got into foul trouble. The entire rebounding structure of the team completely collapsed. The Fever were left vulnerable and exposed in the paint, and it cost them dearly. Having someone like Jessica Shepard, who is a relentless glass cleaner, would change the entire dynamic of the game. She could step in, grab those crucial boards, and keep the play alive while Aliyah catches a breather. It is about building a roster that can survive the rigors of a deep playoff run without falling apart the moment one star player heads to the bench. Jessica Shepard's game is very different from Alana Smith's, but in many ways, it might be exactly what this specific roster needs. While she might not be the same level of defender as Smith, her strength on the boards is undeniable. She has the ability to dominate the paint and kick the ball back out to shooters like Caitlin Clark, keeping the offense in a constant state of flow. Last year, she even put up a triple-double against the Fever, totally dominating the matchup and showing everyone exactly what she is capable of. That kind of performance left a lasting impression on the coaching staff, and it is why her name is now at the top of the list for potential free agent acquisitions. The reality is that the Fever need more than just one new player, they need a complete shift in their competitive culture. Stephanie White was brought in to instill a championship mentality, and that starts with the roster construction. She is reportedly furious that the team is even in a position where they are worried about losing ground to other franchises. The $78 million facility is a great start, but it is only one piece of the puzzle. If they do not land a significant free agent this cycle, the message to Caitlin Clark will be that the team is better at building buildings than they are at building winning rosters. That is a dangerous narrative that the front office is desperate to avoid. There is also the question of chemistry, and how these new pieces will fit with the existing core. Aliyah Boston has shown she can play the 4 spot effectively, which opens up a lot of possibilities for a bigger lineup. If the Fever can bring in a physical center to handle the dirty work inside, it allows Aliyah to move more freely and use her versatility to disrupt opponents. This kind of flexibility is what White needs to implement her defensive schemes. She wants a team that can adapt to any opponent, and right now, the roster is a bit too one-dimensional. The push for versatile veterans like Shepard is a direct response to that coaching requirement. The talk around the league is that the Fever are finally acting like a big market team. For years, they were content to sit back and rebuild through the draft, but the arrival of Caitlin Clark changed everything. Now, they are the center of the basketball world, and they have to act like it. The investment in the facility and the aggressive pursuit of free agents are signs that the old Fever ways are gone. But with that newfound status comes an incredible amount of pressure. Every move is being scrutinized by fans and the media, and any failure to land a top target will be viewed as a massive disappointment. Stephanie White knows this better than anyone, and she is holding everyone accountable that we cannot ignore the human element in all of this. These players want to feel valued and supported, and the new facility goes a long way toward that. Offering things like childcare spaces and chef-driven nutrition programs shows a level of care for the players' lives outside of basketball. It is about creating an environment where they can truly thrive and focus entirely on the game. For a player like Caitlin Clark, who is under a constant microscope, having a sanctuary like this is invaluable. But again, these are just the bells and whistles. At the end of the day, these athletes are competitors who want to win, and if the roster does not reflect that ambition, the luxury of the facility will quickly fade. The rumor mill is spinning faster than ever as we approach the official start of free agency. Every social media post from a player is being analyzed for hidden meanings. Is Alana Smith sending a signal? Is Jessica Shepard looking for a way out of Minnesota? The fans are hungry for news, and the tension is palpable. Stephanie White is reportedly keeping a close eye on all of it, making sure the front office stays focused on the primary goals. She does not want the team to get distracted by flashy names that do not fit the system. She wants tough, high IQ players who can execute her vision on both ends of the floor, and she is willing to ruffle some feathers to get them. One of the biggest concerns for the coaching staff is the defensive end of the floor. While the Fever were one of the most exciting offensive teams in the league last year, their defense often left a lot to be desired. Stephanie White is a defensive mastermind, and she is not going to tolerate another season of being outworked in the paint. This is why the focus on rebounding and interior presence is so heavy in the current free agency discussions. Whether it is Smith or Shepard, the goal is the same: find someone who can protect the rim and secure the ball. Without that defensive anchor, all the three-pointers in the world will not be enough to get them to the finals. The front office's strategy seems to be one of overwhelming force. They are using their financial might to build the best facility, and they are prepared to use their cap space to lure the best players. It is a total pivot from how the franchise has operated for the last decade. But will it be enough to keep the vultures away? Other teams are already plotting their moves for the next few years, knowing that Caitlin Clark will eventually be the biggest free agent in the history of the sport. The Fever have to build a culture so strong, and a team so successful, that she never even considers leaving. Every decision made right now is a brick in the wall they are building around her future. Stephanie White's frustration likely stems from the fact that she knows how quickly things can change in this league. One bad offseason can set a franchise back for years. She saw the potential in this team from the outside, and now that she is on the inside, she is pushing for excellence in every department. She is not just coaching the players, she is coaching the entire organization to think bigger and move faster. The $78 million facility is a win for the business side, but now, the basketball side has to deliver. If they do not, all that money spent on saunas and golf simulators will look like a desperate attempt to cover up a lack of true competitive growth. The connection between Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark is the foundation of this entire project. Keeping them happy and productive is the #1 priority. By bringing in players who can support them, the Fever are ensuring that their two young stars do not burn out or become frustrated. The front court depth is not just about winning games, it is about protecting their long-term health and development. If Aliyah is constantly fighting through foul trouble, and Caitlin is constantly under pressure because of a lack of rebounding, their growth will stagnate. Stephanie White is determined to prevent that at all costs, and she is making sure the front office knows it.as. The renderings of the new facility continue to circulate online. The excitement in Indianapolis is at an all-time high. People are starting to realize that the Fever are no longer just a small market team trying to get by, they are a powerhouse in the making. But with that power comes the threat of jealousy and competition from the rest of the league. Other owners and GMs are watching what is happening in Indy with a mix of respect and fear. They know that if the Fever successfully pair a championship-caliber roster with these world-class facilities, they could dominate the league for the next decade. The race is on, and the Fever have just taken a massive lead. The next few weeks will be some of the most important in the history of the Indiana Fever. The decisions made during this free agency period will echo for years to come. Will they land the big fish and solidify their status as contenders, or will they settle for secondary pieces and hope for the best? Stephanie White has made her position clear: she wants winners. She wants players who are not afraid of the spotlight, and who can handle the pressure of playing alongside a generational talent. The front office has the tools, the facility, and the motivation. Now, they just have to close the deals and prove that they can match the intensity of their new head coach. the investment being made right now is a testament to the Caitlin Clark effect. She has changed the economics of the game, and the Fever are the primary beneficiaries. They are reinvesting that success back into the team in a way that should make every other franchise take notice.